Haribol, Haribol.
Jai Panchatattva.
This meeting is being recorded.
What is that?
Krishna.
Noise. I'm getting echo.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jayadvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Ashtottara Sata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. And welcome to everyone for Sri Caitanya Caritamrta reading with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami. It is Thursday, March 21st, 2024 in New York, and we're reading in the Adi Lila, Chapter 7. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking to the Mayavadi sannyasis of Benares. And last we left off, we had a string of verses starting with 124 that I'm honestly not sure where we ended up. I think we may be in the middle of one long purport or other, but I'm not sure. So I'd be happy to know so that we can proceed. I'm sorry I don't have that straight away. Oops.
We're in the midst of a purport. On the basis of all the Upanishads, Srila Jayadvaita Swami says, that's in the purport to, going back from 128.
That's what I thought. So on the basis of is what I'm looking for there to get us placed properly. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we'll chant the verse and then we'll pick up in the commentary with on the basis of all the Upanishads. And let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 page breaks down, not full paragraphs, but 10 page breaks. Pranavase Mahavakya Vedera Nidan Ishvara Svarupa Pranava Sarva Vishvadham. The Vedic sound vibration Omkara, the principal word in the Vedic literatures, is the basis of all Vedic vibrations. Therefore, one should accept Omkara as the sound representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the reservoir of the cosmic manifestation. On the basis of all the Upanishads, Srila Jiva Goswami says, Omkara is the supreme absolute truth and is accepted as such by all the acharyas and authorities. Omkara is beginningless, changeless, supreme, and free from deterioration and external contamination. Omkara is the origin, middle, and end of everything, and any living entity who thus understands Omkara attains the perfection of spiritual identity in Omkara. Omkara, being situated in everyone's heart, is Ishvara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 1861, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtati. Omkar is as good as Vishnu because Omkar is as all-pervasive as Vishnu. One who knows Omkar and Lord Vishnu to be identical has to lament or hanker. One who chants Omkar no longer remains a Shudra, but immediately comes to the position of a Brahmana. Simply by chanting Omkar, one can understand the whole creation to be one unit, or an expansion of the energy of the Supreme Lord. Idang hi vishvang bhagavan ivetaro, yato jagatstana nirodha sambhavaha. The Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead, is himself this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only this cosmic manifestation has emanated, in him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. So 1.5.20 Bhagavatam. Although one who does not understand concludes otherwise, Srimad-Bhagavatam states that the entire cosmic manifestation is but an expansion of the energy of the Supreme Lord. realization of this is possible simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, Omkara. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyas Chakripa Sindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. One thing that occurred to me here is when Prabhupada says that, what does he say? Yes, simply by chanting Omkar, one can understand the whole creation to be one unit or an expansion of the energy of the Supreme Lord. That reminds me of when I was listening to some of the Tattva Sandarbha lectures by Gopi Pranadhana Prabhu. He begins by speaking a bit about how important it is, and Jiva Goswami stresses this also, that the Vedas themselves need to be accepted as a cohesive single body of work with a single aim. Otherwise, the benefit cannot be derived from the study of them. If you think this was composed over here, has nothing to do with this Purana or Upanishad over here, then you're missing the point. Prabhupada brings it out here that if you, by proper appreciation of Omkar, you see that everything is a single unit. Everything emanates from the Lord. The Vedas are the breathing of the Lord. They're meant to bring us closer to the Lord. Otherwise, you won't get the benefit from it. And because Shankaracharya himself is expertly twisting the meaning of the Vedas, he's basically cheating people out of the proper understanding. So I'd be very happy to hear if you have something to say on this, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
No, I think we're really hearing more and more evidence that Omkar is identical with the personality of Godhead, and that Omkar is the principal vibration in the Vedic writings. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I was going to say, Maharaj, I don't know if your audio settings have changed since our last meeting, but things are sounding a little extra loud and maybe even boomy. If you've made any adjustments, I don't know how that might have affected things, but your sound is as clear as it usually is.
I'll take a look.
Panchatattva Prabhu, would you be able to read the next paragraph in this purport, starting with "one should not, however"?
Sure. I had a question. I know it's maybe a somewhat simplistic question. Of course, people all over the world chant Om or Omkar, but it's not normal to see that they accept that Omkar is identical with the Supreme Lord. They just think it's a meditational sound or whatever. Is that because Omkar is subjected to the same list of offenses as those against the holy name? That's my question.
I'm thinking Maharaj may be adjusting his audio right now. I certainly couldn't attest to that with any kind of authority. Yes, your audio is better, Maharaj. Thank you.
So the question was, there's so many people chanting Omkar, but they don't really understand Krishna. Is that because they're subject to the same offenses in chanting? Is that the question?
Yes, correct, Maharaj.
The main thing, of course, there are offenses in chanting any vibration, including Omkar, to glorify the Lord. The main thing is that their intent is impersonal. They're chanting Omkar the devotees are chanting Hare Krishna, and perhaps they're committing offenses, but their goal is Krishna. They may be serving offensively, but they're serving. The Mayavadis don't want to serve. They want to merge with the personality of Godhead. So they, of course, they're subject to, inattention and chanting Omkar won't even get you liberation. You can't merge by just distracted chanting of Omkar. Chanting Omkar involves deep concentration. But even with that deep concentration, their goal is impersonal, so that's the most they can hope for.
Thank you, Maharaj.
The devotees are also chanting Omkar, but with a different purpose.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Should I read? One should not, however, foolishly conclude that because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is omnipotent, we have manufactured a combination of letters, A, U, and M, to represent him. Factually, the transcendental sound Omkar, although a combination of the three letters A, U, and M, has transcendental potency. And one who chants Omkar will very soon realize Omkar and Lord Vishnu to be non-different. Krishna declares, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. I am the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. Bhagavad Gita 7:8. One should therefore conclude that among the many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Omkar is the sound incarnation. All the Vedas accept this thesis. One should always remember that the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself are always identical. Abhinatvam namanamino. Since Omkar is the basic principle of all Vedic knowledge, it is uttered before one begins to chant any Vedic hymn. Without Omkar, no Vedic mantra is successful. The Goswamis therefore declare that Pranava, Omkar, is the complete representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they have analyzed Omkar in terms of its alphabetical constituents as follows. Akarinochyate Krishna Sarvalokaikanayakaha, Ukarinochyate Radha Makaro Jiva Vachakaha. Omkara is a combination of the letters A, U, and M. Akarinochyate Krishna. The letter A, Akara, refers to Krishna, who is Sarvalokaikanayaka, the master of all living entities and planets, material and spiritual. Nayaka means leader. He is the supreme leader, Nitya Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam. The letter U, or Ukar, indicates Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of Krishna. And M, Makar, indicates the living entities, jivas. Thus, Om is the complete combination of Krishna, his potency, and his eternal servitors. In other words, Omkar represents Krishna, his name, fame, pastimes, entourage, expansions, devotees, potencies, and everything else pertaining to him. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu states in the present verse of Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, Sarva Vishvadam, Omkara is the resting place of everything, just as Krishna is the resting place of everything. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Stop there. That's a long paragraph. Wow, what a great insight into the constituent parts of Om, A-U-M. What to say? Krishna says, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, Shabdake Parushamnashu. So Pranava is Omkar. He's the syllable Om in all the Vedic mantras. You've heard this again and again in Prabhupada's books, that all the Vedic mantras begin with Omkar, or this Pranava. So it's not, as mentioned here, the Vedic mantra without Omkars, it's not a legitimate presentation. And Omkar is a sound incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very, very important. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gananjanasa. Even in recognizing the mercy of the spiritual master, we begin with a syllable. We begin with the pranava, Om. So, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Panchatattvaji. Maharaj, could you kindly comment on this?
Well, there are the Goswamis seeing Krishna deeply present in the transcendental vibration, Omkar. There's, again, I don't think, Prabhupada's written so extensively here that I don't think I need to add more.
I was reminded when Panchatattva Prabhu was speaking that the what does he say exactly there? Without Omkar, no Vedic mantra is successful. And I think that didn't Shukracharya bring that point out when trying to counsel his disciple Bali Maharaj? Well, you didn't say Om when you promised the land to this Vamana, so you're not beholden because you didn't say Om, or something like that. I think that's what he said. Wasn't part of the utterance, so that was a loophole.
It's called legalism.
Ross Prabhu, are you available to read tonight? Could you read the next paragraph that starts with the Mayavadi philosophers? Maybe two paragraphs if you could.
Yeah. The Mayavadi philosophers consider many Vedic mantras to be the Mahavakya, or principal Vedic mantra, such as Tat Tvam Asi, Chandogya Upanishad 6.8.7, Idam Sarvam Yad Ayam Atma, and Brahmadam Sarvam Brahad Aranyaka Upanishad 2.5.1, Atma Vedam Sarvam Chandogya Upanishad 7.25.2, and Nihananashti Kinchana Katha Upanishad 2.1.11. That is a great mistake. Only Omkar is the Mahavakya. All these other mantras that the Mayavadis accept as the Mahavakya are only incidental. They cannot be taken as the Mahavakya or Mahamantra. The mantra Tat Tvam Asi indicates only a partial understanding of the Vedas, unlike Omkar, which represents the full understanding of the Vedas. Therefore, the transcendental sound that includes all Vedic knowledge is Omkar, Pranav. Aside from Omkar, none of the words uttered by the followers of Shankaracharya can be considered the Mahavakya. They are merely passing remarks. Shankaracharya, however, has never stressed chanting of the Mahavakya Omkar. He has accepted only Tat Tvam Asi as the Mahavakya. Imagining the living entity to be God, he has misrepresented all the mantras of the Vedanta Sutra with the motive of proving that there is no separate existence of living entities and the supreme absolute truth. This is similar to the politician's attempt to prove nonviolence from the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is violent to demons, and to attempt to prove that Krishna is not violent is ultimately to deny Krishna. As such, explanations of the Bhagavad Gita are absurd, so also is Shankaracharya's explanation of the Vedanta Sutra, and no sane and reasonable man will accept it. At present, however, the Vedanta Sutra is misrepresented not only by the so-called Vedantis, but also by unscrupulous persons who are so degraded that they even recommend that sannyasis eat meat, fish, and eggs. In this way, the so-called followers of Shankar, the impersonalist Mayavadis, are sinking lower and lower. How can these degraded men explain the Vedanta Sutra, which is the essence of all Vedic literature?
Thank you, Rosfer. Thank you very much for reading. Maharaj, would you care to comment on this section here?
Well, again, Prabhupada's making this point that Shankara is diverting our attention to some cherry-picked mantras, Tattvam Masi, Ambramasmi, and so on. But he's leaving out the main vibration, the vibration Omkar. So Prabhupada has strong things to say about Shankara here. I know there are devotees who would rather not say anything uncomplimentary about Shankara or about Mayavadis more broadly. But Prabhupada, what can we do? He's spoken very strongly. And not only against Shankara, but against neo-followers of Shankara who go so low that they, Shankara, he has discipline, he has principles, he has traditional integrity as far as how one should act. Then you get these neo-followers of Advaita, neo-followers of Vedanta, who say, eat chicken, eat anything, fish, eat anything you like. They say that, anyway, they say so many things. Prabhupada quoted, nothing that a goat won't eat, nothing that a fool won't say. So, there they are. And Prabhupada says, what can they say about Vedanta Sutra? That's cool. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Panchatattva Prabhu comments in the chat that Prabhupada was advised to change his diet and dress accordingly when he came to the West by Mayavadis. Just see.
He was even advised by his godbrothers to change his dress. But Prabhupada said, I'm not going there to adopt their culture, I'm going there to teach them our culture.
Maharaj, on this subject of the Mayavadis cherry-picking the Tat Tvamasi as the Mahavakya, and I know Jiva Goswami has gone into this in some great detail in Tattva Sandarbha of what is the Mahavakya, what is the import of the Bhagavatam to begin with. And I guess my question is, maybe this is discussed more extensively later in later purports, but Prabhupada's and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is bringing out Omkar as the real Mahavakya for everywhere in the Vedas. And of course, he's the Supreme Lord, so he can very quickly point out the point of everything. But for those who don't accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I guess, what is our strategy for pointing out what is a Mahavakya and what is not?
Jiva Goswami gives some criteria. I've forgotten what all of them are, but one is that you see it all over the place. You see it in the beginning. You see it at the end. You see it in the middle. When there's a message, someone gives a speech or someone has a scientific presentation or whatever it may be, what's important? Well, what he starts out with has special importance. What he wraps up with, that has special importance. What he speaks about again and again, that has special importance. So these are some of the criteria. There's 2 or 3 more, as I remember. But these are some of the important ways to determine what is the, as something like the way a school student studies a paper, you know, tell me what are the important points from this paper. And the student is expected to be able to pick them out, not just to be able to read one line after another, but be able to say, the important point in this story is, so the same thing is true at a more sophisticated level in Vedic study, and Jiva Goswami gives various criteria.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. In the chat, I've posted, for those who may be interested, the link to Gopi Pranadhana Prabhu's very good classes on Tattva Sandarbha, where he goes into this in great detail. So it's the same principle as in speech making, that you tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them it, and then you tell them what you told them.
Yeah.
And Panchatattva Prabhu points out that none of these mantras advocated by Shankaracharya begin with Omkar. Hare Krishna. So, oh, Ras Prabhu, could you finish reading the purport? I didn't realize we were so close to the end there. Is that okay?
Yes. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has declared, Mayavadi Bhashya Shunale Laya Sarva Nasha. Anyone who hears commentary on the Vedanta Sutra from the Mayavad school is completely doomed. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Vedas cha sarver aham eva vedya. All Vedic literature aims at understanding Krishna. Mayavad philosophy, however, has deviated everyone from Krishna. Therefore, there is a great need for the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world to save the world from degradation. Every intelligent and sane man must abandon the philosophical explanation of the Mayavadis and accept the explanation of Vaishnava acharyas. One should read Bhagavad Gita as it is to try to understand the real purport of the Vedas.
Thank you, Prabhu. It's a long purport. Maharaj, would you have any words to share as far as the closing portion here?
Well, Prabhupada's made the consistent point in the beginning, the middle, and the end that Omkar is the essential vibration, that Shankara has misled the world, misled everyone by pointing toward Tattvamasi, Sarvakalavidam Brahma, and so on. So we should follow Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnavacharyas to get the real import of Omkar. That's the conclusion.
Right. All right, so we're now at text 129. Let's see here. I'll read it, it's short. Sarvashraya Ishvarera Pranava Udesha Tattvamasi Vakyahaya Vedera Ekadesha. It is the purpose of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to present Pranava, Omkar, as the reservoir of all Vedic knowledge. The words Tattvam Asi are only a partial explanation of the Vedic knowledge. Tattvam Asi means you are the same spiritual identity. I was thinking how potent the words of Shankaracharya are, that he has, as you say, Maharaj, cherry-picked this one non-Mahavakya phrase and turned it into the Mahavakya for all of his followers for a long time. How influential a personality. Panchatattva Prabhu says, first of all, very nice reading by Ross. Secondly, oneness, but not oneness and difference, he says. Dana Mataji, would you be up for reading any this evening? Like, say, text number 130? Is that something that you could do?
Sure. Let me just. Pranava Mahapakya Sahakari Achatana Mahavaki Caritatvam Asira Stapana. Translation: Pranava Omkara is the Mahavakya Maha Mantra in the Vedas. Shankaracharya's followers cover this to stress without authority the mantra Tat Tvam Asi. Purport: Mayavadi philosophers stress the statements Tat Tvam Asi, Soham, etc., but they do not stress the real Maha Mantra, Pranava Omkara. Therefore, because they misrepresent Vedic knowledge, they are the greatest offenders to the lotus feet of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says clearly, Mayavadi, Krishni, Aparadi, Mayavadi philosophers are the greatest offenders to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna declares, Tan aham dvishattaha gururan samsareshu naradhaman Shipami Atrasham Ashubhan Asurish Eva Yonishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among mankind, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Life in demoniac species awaits the Mayavadi philosophers after death because they are envious of Krishna. When Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 9:34, Mana Bhava Mad Bhakto Mad Yaji Mam Namaskuru. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. One demoniac scholar says that it is not Krishna to whom one must surrender. This scholar is already suffering in this life, and he will have to suffer again in the next life. He will have to suffer again in the next if making up words, if in this life he does not complete his prescribed suffering. One should be very careful not to be envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the next verse, therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu clearly states the purport of the Vedas.
Thank you for reading. Any thoughts there?
Well, it definitely stood out when it talked about, if you don't surrender, and if you don't really understand this point of, engaging your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. It's like you have to just keep coming back until you get it, and there's so much suffering to go through, and so it's honestly, I'm feeling very blessed and very thankful that I'm getting this opportunity to be blessed with this knowledge and this association and this service and in this lifetime. And I don't know, I don't have too much else great. I don't have many other thoughts, but that really stood out to me, that whole part right there. So I'd love to hear what others and Maharaj has to say.
Thanks so much.
Prabhupada again is speaking strongly here. Tanaha dvishata. Dvishata means envious. Prabhupada points out envy begins at the top. It begins with envy of Krishna. So the Mayavadis are envious, and therefore Mayavadi Krishna Aparadhi. They're offenders to Krishna. That answers also Panchatattva's question. was it Panchatattva's question? Is it that they commit offenses while chanting Omkar? So they commit offenses right, left, and center. They're always committing offenses because they're trying to avoid Krishna, deprecate Krishna, make Krishna less important, make him the impersonal something within Bhagavad Gita, or within the absolute truth. So yes, and therefore Prabhupada, from his personal experience, says that one particular scholar with whom he always took issue was suffering in this life and would have to suffer in the next, if he didn't finish it this time, on account of his offenses.
Sucharideva Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Hare Krishna, Maharaj, obeisances. I have this question, and maybe I'm pretty late in asking this question. That I have been talked to several Mayavadis. I find it often difficult to digest that this that Srila Prabhupada is continuously repeating in the purpose that this is out of enviousness of Krishna that they conclude Krishna has got no form. But as much as I can understand it, it is out of ignorance, which Srila Prabhupada is repeatedly equating with enviousness. And I believe ignorance is something which can be an issue with anyone, even Vaishnavas or practicing Vaishnavas or aspiring Vaishnavas for that matter. So how can we understand that the ignorance is continuously and repeatedly being equated with enviousness in the purports, Maharaj?
Well, not to know, that's one thing. What is that? Drishotsu and Bali Sheshu. Bali Sheshu, they're just childlike. They don't really know. They're in ignorance. A child is in ignorance. But Drishotsu, those who are envious, the childish person will say, I don't know whether there's God. I don't know anything about God. This, that. But the envious person, why should Krishna be God? Why not everyone? And that's a demonic mentality. Asura Balamashrita. They're specifically envious. Let's get Krishna out of this picture somehow or other. That's envy. I may not know anything about a Kendra. Is a Kendra? Who's a Kendra? I don't really know. A Kendra, this a Kendra, that a Kendra. But once it's a Kendra, who's he? What does he know? Why should we give any attention to a Kendra? Then that's different now. I'm offensive. A Kendra's not very important. Mick Jagger is important. So that becomes envy. And Prabhupada gave that story. Maybe it's Indian humor and not everyone gets it, but Prabhupada told that story of the lawyers who were reading in the law bulletin or someplace, and the one lawyer turned to the other and said, "Oh, Chakrabarti has been promoted to the judge's bench," and the other one says, "Chakrabarti? No, I don't believe it. Tell you, he doesn't know the law. He doesn't know up from down. What is this Chakrabarti? How could he be?" And the other person says, "No, it's true. I've even seen it. I've seen him sitting on the bench." And then the first lawyer says, "Oh, well, then he must not be getting paid." Somehow or other to deprecate. So somehow or other to diminish Krishna, to deny Krishna, to get Krishna out of the picture. Of course, Prabhupada speaks strongly. Not everyone speaks strongly. Others say, yes, we disagree, we have a different point of view, the Vaishnavas see it differently, and so on, which is the usual cordial scholarly approach. As we've heard, I'm okay, you're okay. Oh, I look at it this way, you look at it that way. But Prabhupada chooses to be quite aggressive, as his Guru Maharaj also was quite aggressive. And Prabhupada defended that position, where he said, I recall in one meeting, he had his guest unpack or read through at least Namam Dushkritana Mudha Prapadyante Naratama. And then Prabhupada unpacked actually the verse, what Mudha means, what Naratama means, Maya Pradagana Asura Pavamashrita. Then Prabhupada said, it's not my saying, it's Krishna's saying. What can I do? So it's a fact. Krishna speaks so strongly. Tana Dushata Krura Namam Dushkritana Mudha. So Prabhupada is simply repeating what Krishna said at full strength.
Thank you, Maharaj. Panchatattva Prabhu says, ignorance is also a result of sinful activities. But the test for envy of Krishna is, if I hear the truth persuasively and authoritatively presented, as here by Sri Chaitanya to the Mayavadis, do I reject him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead?
Yeah.
And Priyanka Mataji says, Srila Prabhupada said in one of the lectures, citing the offensive nature of Mayavadis, suppose you enter in a very beautiful garden, very nicely treed, so many nice flowers, buildings. Everything they are nice. The proprietor of the garden takes you to show you. And if you say, oh, it is all mithya, then how much depressed he becomes. Just see. I brought this friend to show the beauty of this garden, and he says it is mithya.
Yeah, this is a Neo-Mayavad slogan, Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya. The Brahman is real and the world is false. But Prabhupada said, no, the world is also a manifestation of Krishna. So it's not false, it's just temporary. And it's not what we suppose it to be.
Suchara Deva Prabhu, is that all right? Did you have anything further to clarify in that?
No, thank you very much. Thanks, Mark. Thank you very much.
All right. All right, so we're at 7:49. Either we can pause here, or let's see how chunky the next purport is. It's short. Panchatattva Prabhu, would you mind reading? Would you be able to?
Sure. 129?
We are at 131.
Oops, sorry. Yeah. Sarvaveda Sutre Kore Krishnir Abhidhan Mukhya Vritti Chadhi Koila Lakshana Vyakyan. In all the Vedic sutras and literatures, it is Lord Krishna who is to be understood. But the followers of Shankaracharya have covered the real meaning of the Vedas with indirect explanations. Purport. It is said, Vede Ramayane Chaiva Purani Bharate Tatha Adavante Cha Madhye Cha Harisarvatra Giyate. In the Vedic literature, including the Ramayana, Puranas, and Mahabharata, from the very beginning, Adau, to the end, Ante Cha, as well as within the middle, Madhye Cha, only Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is explained. Well, that's pretty conclusive. Hare Krishna. The whole thing. Just like we've heard it said that Krishna is present in every word of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Every word. So here we're hearing that everything, the entire Vedic literature, Ramayana, Puranas, Mahabharata, beginning to end, as well as in the middle, only Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is explained. It's not mentioned that the source of this, does someone know the source of this verse? I don't know. But there it is.
If I remember, it's Madhvacharya's verse.
Oh.
I wouldn't swear to it, but that's what I remember.
I think I can find it. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Nice verse.
Would you like to read the next one as well? It's also short.
Sure. Svata Pramana Veda Pramana Shiramani Lakshana Karide Svata Pramana Tahani. The self-evident Vedic literatures are the highest evidence of all. But if these literatures are interpreted, their self-evident nature is lost. Purport. We quote Vedic evidence to support our statements. But if we interpret it according to our own judgment, the authority of the Vedic literature is rendered imperfect or useless. In other words, by interpreting the Vedic version, one minimizes the value of Vedic evidence. When one quotes from Vedic literature, it's understood that the quotations are authoritative. How can one bring the authority under his own control? That is a case of principiis obsta. Did I say that correctly, Maharaj? Principiis obsta?
Principius obsta.
Principius obsta. Thank you, Gurudev. It's one of the offenses to interpret, to give some interpretation of the holy name of the Lord. It's the same principle. To screw out some idea based upon our own mental speculation and to not accept the authority of the previous acharyas and the authority of the Vedas themselves. This is a big mistake, but well indulged in by Mayavadis and other speculative philosophers. Tako pratishta shrutiya vibhinna. The whole idea being our false ego gets in the way of taking a humble approach to and accepting the Vedic authority, as Prabhupada said, Bhagavad Gita, as it is, not as I want it or as someone interpreted it, but as it is. So the Vedic literatures as they are. And still we have Narada Muni advising Vyasadeva, you have to really focus on this one. You presented all the Vedic literatures, but we need a special focus. We need to especially make it clear the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, our relationship with Him, activities rendered in service to the Lord, and the ultimate goal of that relationship and activities. So there's a call by a great acharya for focus. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Panchatattva Prabhu.
Principius obsta means cutting something off from the beginning, obstructing something from the start. So there's a Vedic approach to knowledge, and it's the approach of hearing from the authority of the Vedas. So if you begin by denying the Vedic authority or subjecting it to interpretation and saying, well, I think, and then in that way making your own thinking more important than the Vedic evidence, and that's principius obsta from the very beginning. You're blocking the project. You're blocking the project. There are people sometimes, even in espionage, you plant your person to foul up the project from the beginning, to make sure that it doesn't even get started. So the Mayavadis, that's their position. They misinterpret the Vedic version, or they try to subject the whole project to their own speculative approach, and they minimize the importance of Vedic evidence. So that's Principia Sopsta. We're out of time.
Indeed we are. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
All right. It's time for kirtan, and we would love for someone to step forward and lead that kirtan.
I'll try.
Jai.
I've been meditating on this particular melody. I heard I saw a short video of Agnidev Prabhu talking about how in the very beginning there were maybe 5 or 6 melodies that the devotees were chanting. And he said, and this melody was one of them. And he said he had heard that it was a favorite melody of his Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then he presented it. It's just one piece of a melody. It's so nice. I don't know. I'll maybe sing it a little bit. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Privrajacharya Astotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Privrajacharya Astotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrindi ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gora Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Panchatattva Prabhu. Maharaj Gupta Prabhu says, Jai. Thank you, Maharaj Nikendra Prabhu. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you for being here, Maharaj Gupta Prabhu. And thank you everyone for being here and your participation, your reading, your listening. All good. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Sri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Kendra Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Panchatattva Prabhu ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kendra Prabhu. Thank you, Ras Prabhu. Thank you, Krishna Konteya Prabhu. Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you, everybody. Very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Hope to see you all tomorrow, if not sooner, for Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.